Hello, everyone. Macintosh here. And so, by the way, welcome to Resonate. I'm using this platform mainly for the features that it has in regards to like the presentation and stuff like that, the tooling that I need to actually put together this board that you see here behind me. And so I'm just going to go through each and every one of these, probably in no particular order, but as I complete each topic, I'll just simply remove it from the board. And fun thing about this, though, is I could just simply grab any letter. There you go, and just snap it back in. I could even delete it from there as I like. So it took me a while to understand the pens that they got here in Resonate. For those of you who are not familiar with what Resonate is, it's pretty much like VRChat, except it is for people who are technical, like much more technical than they normally would be. And so that's usually in my camp, actually. That's why I'm in Resonate as well. It's a lot more open and has its own unique architecture as well. They are actually in the process of making some parts of it open source, while also trying to migrate themselves out of Unity. So Fruxius, the brain behind much of the outfit there, along with the other developers, put together like a lot of videos explaining the process of what they're doing and such and such. But that's a different topic altogether. This video is not going to be covering that, though. This video is going to be about the main topic you see on the board, EVE FanFest 2025. That happened between the 1st and the 3rd of May. So not that long ago, actually. And there they talked about, first of all, they obviously talked about EVE Online as well as the upcoming expansion on, I think it's later this month. I think it's releasing on the 27th of May, the EVE Legion expansion. And so it comes with a whole host of different features, everything from freelance jobs, corpse skins and stuff like that. So it's a bunch of features there, but that's not going to be covered here. A lot of YouTube videos are already covering that, especially CCP. So what I recommend doing is while you're in VRChat, hop on over to the Warbarge world. Not to be confused with the Event Horizon Lounge or the Ishikone, which are basically two parts of the Warbarge anyways, but the Warbarge world. And there, if you look on the playlist from top to bottom, it actually, I've updated the playlist as well as the monthly economic report, which I think includes the month of March of 2025, and also some related posters that I've updated there. So I've also updated the playlist for the video, which also includes the FanFest keynotes, one for EVE Online Legion and the other one for EVE Vanguard. I especially implore you to look at the Vanguard keynotes. Those actually give you much more in-depth explanation about what's going on, and I highly encourage you to watch those videos, whether on YouTube or in the Warbarge world. So, anyways, now for this video, we're talking specifically EVE Vanguard. Now, I did spend a little bit of time over there on the playtests. I still have access to it at the time of this recording. I think the playtest, the VIP only playtest, is ongoing until the 12th of May. And so, yeah. So these are the topics we're going to cover as much as I could in this video. So, big disclaimer though, just letting you all know, as you can see in the parentheses behind me, EVE Vanguard is pre-alpha. Now, pre-alpha means in development, and we're not talking about, this is not a buzzword, by the way. This, just to be very clear, this is not some marketing buzzword that CCP is just throwing around willy-nilly. Like you probably see many companies these days, like many publishers throwing around labels like open beta or early access, things like that. But when you look at those games, a lot of those games don't really feel like they're works in progress. They feel more or less like finished. And that's been going on for practically a decade or so. And as a result, the industry has practically conditioned a lot of players in the industry to just simply be like assuming that anything that has the label pre-alpha or open beta or early access are just assumed to be the finished game. But in the case of Vanguard, that is the exception, in which it actually is a literal work in progress, where and this is a rare thing, to be honest. Like, not, it's really rare for a company to actually let players see and actually engage in the development. Usually companies would have like focus groups or a very small niche dedicated group of players who are only specifically chosen, like vetted and all that kind of stuff, to play games that are like not even known or shown and often have placeholder assets. But this one here, CCP went pretty broad, where they just like, all you have to do is just practically join the Discord to become a founder, and then submit the application to become a VIP member. And once you're a VIP member, you have access to the playtest. And it's like, that's actually not that hard. It's like, I'm surprised. So I was like, I consider it a privilege to be able to even have access to a game where you see a lot of placeholder assets, you see a lot of bugs in the code, and it's like it's a lot of quirks in there, and we're going to cover that here. And so it really is pre-alpha in the sense that when you look at it, it's a mess. It's like, I'm not going to sugarcoat this, CCP. It is more or less a mess, but it's a fun mess to look at it when you think about it. It's like, you go through a lot of things, which we're going to cover here. So again, pre-alpha, consider it a privilege that you even have access to a game that's in this particular state. So anyways, moving on. Now, we're going to talk about here the public playtest. Public playtest, the FanFest actually had its own public playtest, but it was only for the attendees at FanFest, which was hosted at Reykjavik, Iceland. I wonder if I pronounced it correctly with a correct accent. Please correct me if I'm wrong. Me being Hispanic, I tend to roll the R's quite a lot. So, Reykjavik, Iceland has this venue that's known as the Harpa. I think it's like the Harpa Convention Center, is it? Or I just called it like Harpa. And that's where they hosted FanFest. And it ran from the 1st to the 3rd of May. Now, during that time, attendees had immediate access to the public playtests. And at the conclusion of FanFest, the next public playtest is going to be on the, let me see here if I can remember correctly. Please correct me if I'm wrong in the comment sections if I incorrectly remember this. Actually, I could do this right here. What's this? Let me see if I can write this backwards, actually. So, September, how did that look on my computer? Oh. Yeah, you see what I mean? September 27. Is it September 27? Is it? No, wait. I got that mixed up. The 27 is for the Eve Legion expansion, which is coming out on the 27th of May. So, no. Ignore the 27 there. September, they just gave the month. September of this year. So, September of 2025. So yeah, September of 2025 is when they make available the public playtest, at least for the last time until early access comes out. Which, actually, let me go ahead and grab this. Early access is actually in the summer of 2026. Am I writing this correctly? Yeah. Oh, surprisingly. I can write backwards. Yay. All right. So, summer of 2026 is actually when early access comes, when the game has early access. And it's going to be on Steam. That's right. It's going to be on Steam. So, with that in mind, let's go ahead and delete that. Fun tools there. So, okay. Now that we got that out of the way, let's go ahead and erase that from here, and so I can move on to the next subject. So we already covered early access and the public playtest. So to reiterate, public playtests are on the September of this year. That's going to be the last time it's going to be available for the public. And from that point on, early access is going to be on the summer of 2026. Now, let's talk about a few things here. The debug window. This is like the game. Okay, I'm gonna gloss over a lot of like what's already been talked about publicly in the other YouTube channels. So I'm just gonna go into like some of the very specifics here. Something that's like often not dived into here, except for the recent video by IGN that covered Vanguard. And so like that was actually the one time they actually did showcase the debug window. A little bit about the debug window. When you play the game, at least in the current iteration, the command line is P. When you just hit P for command, and it'll pop up the debug window. It has a list of all the different weapons in there, but the weapons are just concepts. They're more concepts than final products, to be honest. They have mostly placeholder assets on them, but functionally speaking, they're very unique. Very unique. Like the Core 80, that's the standard one that's basically mostly finished. The thing about the Core 80, let's bring that up over here. Let's bring that up here. Let's bring up the Core 80. Now, talking about the Core 80, this was actually the first weapon that came out in, like, from the very beginning, the earliest build of Vanguard. And because of this, when you use the Core 80, this is a weapon that is very flexible. It actually comes with two modes. The first mode is the alpha, and the second mode is beta. And you can just simply switch between the two modes by using the middle mouse wheel. And there, also, you could switch between different ammunition types. So if you have the ammunition, you hit B, you switch between the different, like whether it's kinetic ammunition or energy ammunition. Kinetic being like more effective against armor, and energy being more effective against shields. The Core 80, going back to the Core 80, has gone through several iterations, and at a time, and this is a good demonstration of like how the game was like polished, at least during pre-alpha, at least for the gun game, in that for a while CCP focused exclusively on balancing the gun game. They just gave us one gun, the Core 80, and then they just basically slowly iterated on like damage, fire rates, hitboxes, and stuff like that. And then later on gave us the chipsets, where you can just modify certain aspects of the weapon. Whether you can just install a chipset for sights, the chipset for rate of fire, chipsets for reducing recoil, chipsets for like stuff like that. A good example or a good comparison to that would be Wild Assault, where you have different fittings for, like, say, like the AK-47 or what have you, and just simply you can put like a hand guard or a bypass, stuff like that, or extended magazine. But what it does is basically like affect, say, bullet velocity, stability while standing versus crouching, stability for between moving versus stationary, and what have you. And the so that's basically what it's like. So a good comparison then would be Wild Assault with their weapon loadout system, where you take one weapon and then you just modify it with the chipsets. It's the same thing, effectively. Now, after a while, though, they started implementing more weapons over time once the gun game for the Core 80 was balanced out. And so the Core 80, talking about it a little more, was like it's themed after the Mimitar. It's a Mimitar weapon. So let's get this out of the way. Get rid of that. Move on to the next subject. There we go. Get the gun. Grab the gun. I grabbed the gun. The shotgun. This one over here. Oh, God. This is a special one. This, I think, is going to be fun. Like, honestly, I was surprised at how fun this weapon was, despite the obvious chunky nature of the placeholder asset that it's using. The animation is messed up sometimes. Most of the time, actually. But when you play it, oh my God, it is fucking fun. So, the way how it works is it has this drum, like not like a vertical drum like you typically see, but like we're talking about like one of those like a platter style drum where you load the shots and like the shot shells. And when you look at it, it's like really like square rectangular. It's blocky. The sights are blocky as well. Everything about it is blocky. There's no real animations built into the shotgun though, other than just like the firing and the reload animation, which is broken. Apparently, there's a bit of a glitch with it though, where like you can just rapid fire the shotgun endlessly. But I'm pretty sure that's going to be fixed. But when you look at it, it's like the way how it works is like, okay, it's got its own spread, but the spread, when you look at the shots, like it can bounce off the walls and ricochet into different directions. And if you aim down the sights and hold, it'll focus the shot shells into like a big concentrated ball of death. And the shot shells, when they bounce, will just like bounce like a beam right around. It's basically fuck you ammunition. It is powerful too. Like when you aim down the sights and you hold and you fire, like it'll take you right out of the ADS. Like you're aiming down sights, you hold for a little bit to concentrate, you fire, it'll kick you right back and it'll take you out of the aim down sight. And you have to like aim down again each shot. Now, you can fire without having to aim down, but it's like it spreads out the shots, and like, but even then, like you see the shots like going wildly everywhere. And also, one thing that was noted, the shots seem to change color based on how many times it bounced off each surface. Like it could ricochet, I think, up to 2 or 3 times. But based on playtests, I think it only changes colors like once or twice at most. So like when it comes out of the barrel, it's one color. When it bounces off the first surface, it's a different color. And when it bounces off the second surface, it changes a third to another color. But I think that's about it, though. Any more, it's not going to. I don't think it's going to change any more than that. That would actually be a good gauge of how far someone is when they're shooting it at you. So it's like when you see that, it's like when they're trying to shoot around the corner, you can probably gauge based on the color of the shot where they're at or how far they are around that corner versus you. So yeah, honestly, it's a perfect example of how you can make a fun gun with complete disregard to the visual assets of the item. There's a reason why games like Roblox is so popular, or Battle Bits is so popular. Like those games are like, they're blocky as hell. But yet people play those games because they love the mechanics. And so you create the mechanic. It doesn't, and if the mechanic is fun, engaging, nobody's gonna care how ugly the weapon looks as long as the weapon is fun to use. So, sniper rifle. All right. So the sniper rifle. Just to clarify about the shotgun. It's not exactly clear what empire that shotgun was based off of. It wasn't made exactly clear. I can't remember. Maybe it was noted in the debug window, but I missed it. It could be Mimitar. I don't know. But anyways, the sniper rifle. In the game, it's actually labeled the marksman rifle, but I just call it the sniper rifle because of its function. The sniper rifle, it does have a bit of its own custom assets, so it's not exactly a placeholder item. It's an actual asset based on the design. It's just missing a few textures. Some of the animations are a bit broken based on the perspective. For example, the sniper rifle has, when you load up the ammunition, it's a crystal. It's a giant blocky crystal that you load in. From the first person perspective, the crystal is loaded in the chamber, and you can just fire with that. However, from the third person perspective, when you look at the person holding it, the crystal for some reason is further down. It's like it needs to adjust the z-axis for some reason. Like, what the hell? It's kind of weird. And so the marksman rifle or the sniper rifle practically looks like something from the like one of the rifles that I talked about in my lore videos covering the small arms industry of New Eden, where you see like it basically looks like a flintlock rifle or flintlock laser rifle, as I like to call it. So honestly, I think the mesh. So the mesh is there clearly. It's just missing the textures, and it needs to really rework the animations. Although honestly, I think the crystal could look a little less blocky, to be honest. But yeah, other than that though, it does have its own like unique scope and stuff like that. Now, they did showcase in Vanguard, in the Vanguard keynote, at least as concept art, the different variations of the sniper rifle. So apparently there's going to be more than one variation of the sniper rifle, but in the current build, there's only one sniper rifle. It actually is a powerful weapon. Like when you fire it, or when you're like aiming down the sights, you hold shift where you're aiming down the sights, and you hear that, and then you fire. So it's like fire, and it's like so it basically just holds the shot for you momentarily. Now I'm pretty sure like there's some balancing issues. I think, I think the shotgun has a lot more balancing issues. The sniper rifle honestly feels a little bit more refined. I would say the sniper rifle is, when it comes to how refined it is at least just a few levels below the Core 80. The Core 80 is practically like done, to be honest. Like I think it's just that's the standard now. And the sniper rifle is right up there, but not quite up there yet when it comes to how refined it is in comparison to the other weapons. Now, you recognize this if you've played Dust 514. The ion pistol, I would say, like functionally speaking, there's some variations. They added some variants to this one now. The style of it, like it does, they did put like a unique placeholder for that as well, and it's like the asset. It's very comparable to what the ion pistol did look like, although it's a lot more blocky. It looks like a placeholder asset, to be honest. However, the reload animation is actually there. Like if you recognize or remember the reload animation for the ion pistol in Dust 514, they carried that over to the ion pistol in in this game when if you open up the debug window. But in the debug window, it's not named. They didn't call it the ion pistol. They call it something else. And they actually have two variants of that in the game actually already. The first one is based off of the ion pistol traditionally, and the second version is actually based off of the bolt pistol. Like you remember that? I practically called that the nail gun in Dust 514. It's like for those of you who never played Dust 514, how the bolt pistol operated was it was basically a pocket railgun, and you like to fire, you have to hold down the trigger. It charges it up, and it'll fire automatically as soon as the charge reaches maximum. And so and you can't really like tap it like to fire, and it'll only continue firing until you let go of the trigger or run out of ammunition in the magazine, whichever comes first. And so the ion pistol was a little different in Dust, where like you could charge it up and hold it. But I can't remember exactly, but I think they put like a heat buildup or something like that, where like if you hold it too long, it'll blow back on you. So that was something to consider. I can't remember, or maybe I'm wrong. Memory's a little murky there. So, but in the game though, in the playtest, the ion pistol functionally was basically the same, just broken. And by broken, I mean overpowered. Like this thing would like when I think it was actually called the eviscerator or something like that, or the lacerator. Very fitting name considering what it did. Like when you hold the charge and you fire it, man, that thing will wreck you. Like you could be at a distance, and it will just wreck the hell out of you. It was fun, honestly. Like again, it didn't matter if the pistol was like looking ugly and stuff like that with a placeholder asset. It was fun to use. And so yeah, at the very least, I'm glad that they brought back the ion pistol or the variant of it. And I was also surprised that they're attempting to bring back the bolt pistol as well in terms of function. So that out of the way. God help me when I have to bring up the other one there. So carry on. Now this one over here, the map. Now keep in mind these maps are huge, and honestly, I really hope CCP Games introduces smaller maps, and for a specific reason. Now, focusing on the bigger maps, the only big maps, we have Carrion and Solstice. Those are actually they're actually two different unique maps. However, in terms of variants, there's Carrion, there's Maelstrom, Solstice, and Havoc. And so, Carrion is practically the remember correctly. It's a bowhead crash site. So you're on the surface of the planet, and when you look at it, it's like the bowhead, which is it's a really big cargo ship, and its main function in EVE Online is to haul fully fitted ships. And this thing is about the size of a city district. And in the game, how it was originally introduced in the early builds of Vanguard, one of which I think it was called Groundbreak, and in that build, the map Carrion was introduced, and there, or maybe it was introduced earlier, but there, what happened was in the game, supposedly there was NPC ships that were trying to go and haul clones to a particular planet to assist with like the war effort, but a pirate faction jumped them and caused one of the ships to crash down into the planet's surface, and thus the map Carrion. And so the idea is then like you go in there and you're basically retrieving. You're trying to retrieve the different techs, clone data, cause disruption with any attempts at recovery by the NPCs. You also have to deal with drones. Yes, there are drones, and apparently there's also a big boss drone, if I remember correctly. Now, they did expand a little bit more on this in that they were implementing different weather variations. In Carry On, there's also like unique hazards. You have like I think the acid pit. There's also the cryogenic chamber, which like it has like the cryo fluids spilled out. The cryo fluid doesn't really kill you. It doesn't damage you either, but it does slow you down. Like it causes your armor to get so cold as like it's affecting the like the motors in your armor and stuff like in your suit, and so it's like it's slowing you down. And when you get out, it still has that cooling effect on you for a while until it wears out after you leave the chamber. So that's a hazard there. Not like the acid pit though is the real hazard where like it'll eat away at your shield, then slowly at your armor if you're not careful. So now the other one is called Solstice. Is another unique map. And this one has it happening where it's like it's an island archipelago, but the theme behind this is that there was an attack on an upwell structure up in space, and the parts of the upwell structure just came crashing down onto the planet's surface, and there you have like a bunch of components of the upwell structure strewn all over the place, where like some of the components act like bridges to different islands because they were so massive. Then there you have like unique faunas, like you have like trees that look like they look like Venus flytraps that could eat a whole Vanguard clone, to be honest. But they're also like, and also another thing, in Carry On map as well, just like Solstice, just like Carry On, also has mining sites, and they also have like mining contracts as well between these two maps. There are different. Let me talk about the variants of these maps. So let's look at Havoc. Honestly, this is going to be a common one. I want to do this first. Havoc, it basically takes the Carry On map and it modifies it where it's basically like a capture the flag, or no, not capture the flag. It's it's a territory based game mode, but Havoc is also a map. It's basically taking the Carry On map, but it modifies it so that like you have to capture these orbital cannons that are continuously firing at the opposing mobile command centers. So there are these mobile command centers that are like hovering over in the sky, and you have to capture these things, and then and all you have to do really is just be in proximity to capture them. So there's no terminal to hack at the moment, as far as I know. And once it's captured, the turrets will automatically aim towards the opposing MCC for you. And they can be contested and so forth. And there are 3 of them. And so, but the map is honestly kind of feels like too big, to be honest, for a map mode like that, unless you want to introduce like larger teams. And so again, and there were not that many players, to be honest, so it's like the maps feel rather empty because there were not that many playtesters. So Havoc, again, to reiterate, is Carry On, but modified for like an insurgency style map. So, yeah. Then there's Maelstrom. Interesting little feature with ResNet here. So, Maelstrom is Solstice, if I remember correctly. It is Solstice. And what it does is it takes the weather of it changes up the weather of Solstice, if I remember correctly. And practically it makes it where it's like it's rainy, it's dark, there's thunder, and in Maelstrom though, like the hazards are much more unique. You have to deal with local militias that spawn out of nowhere and they come after you. You also have to deal with the NPCs that are fighting for their respective empires. But in these game modes though, like it's basically more like a free roam type map where like you go in and you can stay there as long as you like, and try to build up your own your own resources there and extract with however much resources you can. So it's like that's just a gist of it. There's more to it than that. But it's a little complicated to explain, especially if I can't recall all of it from memory, to be honest. But yeah, the weather hazards are different, and there's also drones to face. Highly recommend only going in there if you have a team. But if you could do it by yourself and solo and manage to get out, good on you. So, again, there appears to be like an insurgency style mode. Havoc feels like a game mode as well, even though it is it's a different map type. It feels more like a map type than a mode, and so it's not really clear. But like there's at least two modes that I know of. The first one is basically like you're going in free roaming, and the other one is basically you're just trying to contest. Kind of like King of the Hill, kind of like game mode. Now, in regards to what I think about the maps, like what do I think about those maps? The maps are fine, to be honest. Like they look great, but they're too big. They're too big for the given limited squad sizes. There is no ability to effectively Q sync. You could try, but it's limited, and it's like you have to pray that your squad mates and like on the the other squads will coordinate with you and stuff like that. And so, like you can deploy a whole squad, but the squad is limited to 3 players, and so you have to coordinate with other squads and hope that they land in the same instance. And so what I think CCP really needs to do is allow players to form much larger squads. And I'm not talking about just increasing the player count to like 6 or something. No. I'm talking about full on let players deploy like a full 12 to 16 players in a single team. Like let them deploy a whole team, and and make it so that the big maps will only be dedicated to teams of that size. Now, if you want to keep, say, the smaller player size, I would say just for like the sake, like if you want to test it out, all you have to do is take one of the big maps and restrict the red zone, like bring down the red zone like to like a narrow point to where players are engaging against each other more often. Like just pick like an area where it's like it promotes the most engagement. Now, if you can't increase the player size that much, what you could do with the same maps is basically rearrange the paths in a way that promotes the most engagement while still allowing for like an alternative route. But also you may have to adjust the spawn locations. But yeah, the maps are fine, but they're too big for the current player sizes. So I would say recommend both enabling players to deploy with much larger squads, and I mean like a full 12 to 16 players in a single team all at once, and then compete each other that way. That would be fun. Or introduce smaller variants of the maps that restrict the area in which the players engage in. Because when you have a squad of 3 in a district-sized map, they're going to get lost for a while. They're not going to be encountering other players for a while. It's going to get boring, and a lot of times players would end up being just put off by it. There are players that want to go into a game real quick, get some action, and that's it. Give them the action. All right. So, With that out of the way, what am I missing here? In Vanguard, you can fabricate and deploy your own drones, but these drones they function only as like retrieval drones or recovery drones, where you can build one, plop it down on the ground, load it up with whatever items like you've carried on you, and then like tell it to fly away and whatever like so that way if you die later on during the mission and you lose whatever you have on your suit, that's fine. You at least know that the drone has gone back home to whatever base you came from. So it's like it makes it less painful. You know, like it makes the loss of your clone far less painful. Now, one interesting little feature though about these drones is that they don't fly away until you tell it to. And so there were players that just plop the drones down, and then they realize they have collision. So they put another one on top of each other. And then next thing you know, they're building staircases all the way up to the sky. They're building castles and stuff like that. I was like, guys, are we playing Vanguard or Minecraft? And CCP Games also talked about bastions. I forgot to touch on that. They talked about one day introducing bastions, which are basically kind of like forts or places where players or groups of players can gather to coordinate their operations, and they can be personalized. Come September of this year, I think that is when they're going to actually no, not September, but I think come summer, at least summer of next year, they'll introduce bastions as NPC controlled bastions, but then later implement player controlled or player owned bastions. Again, those are supposed to be like bases of operations. Again, so to reiterate, this is pre-alpha, and again, there's a lot of placeholder assets, and again, it's a rare opportunity for players to actually have this kind of access to a game that's in this early of a stage. And there's a reason why video game companies often refuse to do that for their players, because they know how picky players tend to be, and players often tend to think that what they see is the final product, which is not. But to be honest to the players, to be fair to the players, that's the industry's fault. That is practically the industry's fault for conditioning a lot of the players into getting used to the idea of pre-alpha or early or open beta or early access games, and like making and feeling like they're actually finished, giving players the illusion that they can help the game developers improve the game. Honestly, if you're play testing the game, please do, and keep note of all the details that you find and submit bug reports whenever you can. Please be constructive. It's like, yes, I know people need to make sure that CCP's feet are put on a fire every so often, to remind them that they have they need to make sure that they get this right. And players, when they criticize, are generally doing this not to be mean, but to actually help CCP Games and improve the game. Do finish the surveys. Like if you receive an email from CCP to complete a survey on the game, please do. They actually do listen to that. Now, what are my personal opinions though? What do I think about the game overall? Honestly, the game is it's a lot. There's a lot to be said about it. Negatively speaking, it says a lot about the state of the game if the highlight of my time there is stacking drones. I did play I'm playing this game on Linux, Fedora Linux, KDE Plasma 6, and I'm running on AMD hardware, of course, being Linux and stuff like that. And the hardware I got is the RX 6800 XT. Actually, I think it's the 6700 XT. Yeah, RX 6700 XT, Ryzen 7 5800 CPU, 32 gigabytes of RAM. of course. And so honestly, it's running stable. Like I didn't have much problem like installing Vanguard on it. Now, is it going to support Linux upon early access? I don't know. From what I understand, the test build that we have is opened to Linux at the very least, so we could play it on Linux. It does have the easy anti cheat like VRChat does, but it's enabling access to the game. Let's see. What else? That's it. I've been rambling on a long time here. That's it. And so, again, this is Resonate. This is not going to be consistent though. I only hop into Resonate every once in a while if I need to do something in here, like what I just did with the board and the pens and stuff like that. It took me a while to actually learn how to use the pens. Really, it's like honestly, it's like if I have to change colors and stuff like that, and you know, and as usual, fly safe.